Est-ce que vous êtes déjà embrassés avant?
Eh boy, hein. Jamais fait de la vaisselle, là, ce gars?
Parce que c'est ça, la scène que vous allez jouer dans le court-métrage d'Erika. Le gars qui se french.
J'avais-tu dit ou je l'avais pas dit qu'elle nous gosserait avec son esti de film plat?
Là, t'as dit à Max qu'elle allait faire tes affaires de ton côté. Fait que fais tes affaires de ton côté, puis arrête de faire chier mes amis que t'es idées de merde.
C'est pas une idée de merde, là. C'est juste que ça aurait été
Arrête de
de nous
dire
avant.
Qu'est-ce que ça fucking change? Arrêtez pas de comme faire des tresses puis genre de wrestle comme les hosties de wack.
Hey, c'est vrai qu'ils se sont fait de chance au secondaire 3?
Ah ouais, c'était classique.
Ouais, c'est pas un classique tant que ça, sinon Matt, il l'aurait pas oublié.
Mais c'est clair que Matt écrira pas sur l'autre de son char. J'ai Frenché Max secondaire 3, never forget.
On sera mieux de temps cette semaine.
Puis c'était comment avec les gars?
Normal.
Avant longtemps, j'ai l'intention de te donner un peu plus d'importance ici.
Je pense que ça va me faire du bien l'Australie.
Qu'est-ce que ça va faire là-bas?
Je sais pas,
Changer d'air. Changer d'yeux.
Puis ta mère, mettons.
C'était le de ton frère?
C'est ma tante Ginette qui va s'occuper d'elle.
Là, c'est le temps de prendre soin de toi, hein?
On dirait que je suis un peu dans ma tête ces temps-ci. Je vois des choses que je voyais pas avant. Je pense à des choses auxquelles je pensais pas avant.
Alors, Maxime, tu t'en vas, tu pars. Maintenant, on peut préparer un petit quelque chose.
Max, ça va être étrange de te perdre, mais en même temps, on va te retrouver différemment. Fait qu'à Max?
Allez, à Max.
À Max.
Je suis pas capable de croire que tout ce qu'on a bâti depuis qu'on est enfant, nous deux, notre gamme, notre cercle, que ça va tout prendre le bord du jour au lendemain pour une niaiserie, pour rien.
C'est à cause du film, hein, c'est ça? Ça voulait rien dire pour moi, comprends-tu? Je vais même pas le faire, OK?
Mais Matt, je sais même pas de quel film tu parles.
C'est ça, va te cacher! Pas nouveau, ça!
Tu sais, Matt, on se pose tous des questions un jour ou l'autre, hein? C'est ça, la beauté de la jeunesse. Avoir 30 ans. Avoir encore le temps.
So, hello everyone who is watching our conversation, and hi Xavier.
Hi.
It's a big pleasure, and really thank you so much for finding the time.
You're welcome. I have nothing but time. Like most of us on the planet right now, I have nothing but time. But it's a pleasure anyway.
It's really nice actually that you and some other directors or actors find the time, because you know our festival now moved online, and only these small interactions makes it real, somehow a bit more real as the regular festival.
We're here, and I'm happy to be here and answer questions and spend a little bit of time with you.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
I was thinking where to begin, and I thought that what is really different in Matthias and Maxim, the film which we chose actually as a closing film for the festival. So what I was thinking that is different is that in this film you focusing more on the group of people, group of friends, and they kind of belonging to each other rather than family dynamics or just one personal story as in previous films. So maybe you talk a bit about this, and I don't know, I thought that maybe these friends, maybe they are their chosen family in a way.
Yeah, sure. Well, so you know, my first films, well, I guess all of my other films are basically about family dynamics and mothers and sons, and or about relationships, couple relationships, and so generally it involves a dynamic of 2 or 3 characters, and I just felt like talking about friendship, because in the first years of my adult life, I spent a lot of time alone, and not that I didn't have friends, but I had a couple friends, but I never experienced group friendships, like a group of people, like the gang feeling, and the notion of group came later in my 20s. I want to say like 5 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I'm 31 now, and it wasn't before the age of like 24, 25 that I really started to hang out with a bunch of people. Well, like, we're not 20, but we are a group of, variably we can be 6 or 8, but that's the group of friends. And it changed my entire life, and it gave me a sense of security, and it feels weird to be talking about that now because I'm not seeing any of them, and I miss them a lot. But yeah, so it gave me a sense of security and a sort of balance, an unexpected balance in my life. And so even if I had wanted to talk about group friendships before, I would have not necessarily been able to, because I wasn't familiar with it all. And now I feel like I am. So that's what Matthias and Maxim is all about, I think, about showing my friends how much I love them and telling them that I'm basically in love with them all. That's...
But at the same time, there is the topic which was important in your films as well, this identity question, yeah, the sexuality as well. But I think maybe this time it's as well quite different, because it feels that you're trying to talk about something that might shake someone's ground they're standing on. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt it this way. And maybe you're trying to say that this identity doesn't need to be fixed at any kind of age or point in your life, and that you need to be open for the new experiences. Maybe you could reflect a bit about this.
Well, you just did. I mean, that's pretty much it. But I can try to. Yeah, I guess it's also a movie about change, and about the fact that change can present itself in your life. And if you don't embrace it, I mean, some people don't embrace change. They don't want changes to their daily routine, and to everything they've experienced so far in their life is labeled and categorized, and they know what they're doing and they know where they're going, and they're afraid of things changing. But life is in constant metamorphosis, and we are in metamorphosis as well. And I think we have to be able to accept that. And the characters in Matthias and Maxim, well, you know, things have changed a lot since I came out of as gay when I was 15, 14. I don't remember, but it was a while ago. And but you know, back then when I was in high school, you know, you were straight or you were gay, or you were bi, but that was something rare. But it was either or. And now, you know, youth is just liberated in a way that it doesn't need to belong to one specific category, or you know, they don't want labels to their gender or to their preferences or desires, and that's just great. But that's not how I grew up. And at a certain point, I was with a friend a couple of years back, and she was like, "Oh, he's gay." I was like, I don't think we were talking about a younger guy who was quite handsome. And she was like, I think he's gay. And I was like, no, I don't think he's gay. And he was fooling around with his friends and, you know, kissing guys, and they were always, you know, having these contacts. For her and for me, it was obvious that it was a sign. But then he was straight, and we just reflected on how it wasn't a problem for him to look gay or do things that we could label as gay, because he just doesn't care, and his masculinity is not impacted in that way. by that. Because he feels masculine and he doesn't need to label anything. And we do, because we come from a generation that's a little bit older, and so we felt so old, and we were like, the world has really changed. And so I wanted to talk about a group of friends who belonged to that older generation, for whom sexuality is not as fluid as now. So that was also the attempt in Matthias and Maxim, was to show that these bunch of boys have ideas about sexuality that are not modern anymore, and so they feel old. And they feel like their notions are outdated. And in the end, in Matthias and Maxim, you don't know where the characters are going to go from there. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know if are they going to try to be together? Is he going to leave his girlfriend? What's going to happen? We don't really know. But the only thing we're left with is that they're still friends, and their friendship is safe. So that's also part of the message in Matt and Max, is don't fall in love, just make friends. No, I'm kidding, but it's that friendship can sometimes be bigger than love, or at least safer and sometimes bigger. Yeah, well, that's actually the question. I don't feel like I have the answer, and I don't feel like my characters have the answer to that. But yeah, sorry, that was a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, but it was great, because I was actually thinking that that you're really nicely trying to understand, together with your characters, with the actors, this maybe difference between love and friendship, but on the other hand, this love is so much included in the friendship anyway. But to tell you the truth, I was quite scared at the point where Matthias is saying the goodbye speech.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that was the moment where I felt, no, they really need to talk to each other. I mean, this friendship kind of started to be, in danger. And I was thinking, was it important for you to touch the topic of communication between people, between the friends, and what is your stake on this?
Well, communication is essential to all of the stories that I've told. I've always, I think that if there's one thing that all the characters in these films have in common, the one thing they have in common is that their communication is crippled and hindered by their egos and their fears. Their fear of being rejected. We don't verbalize our feelings. Sometimes we do. And in my movies, I try to make people say how they feel, and they have strong emotions, but they only do it after shutting people out for so long. And so when they do say how they feel, it's generally in a scene of that's of histrionics, where they'll either scream it or cry it or express it through a kiss or a physical encounter, and so yeah, communication and our reluctance to communicate clearly and well with each other is at the heart of Matthias and Maxim, as it is the heart of the other movies, in my opinion. But in this one, it's also about how people don't talk about, how men don't want to talk about their feelings. Yeah. Men are less prone to, well, I don't know if that's still the case now. I guess it is. With the younger ones, I guess it's less of an issue than for people who are over 30. But I know that where I come from and my friends, we don't always talk about how we feel. We conceal a lot of it. Yeah. Conceal, don't feel. Those are of the Frozen song.
And could you say why it was important for you that Maxim had a birthmark? Just a specific sign on him?
I've always been obsessed. I'm afraid that answer is going to be, well, not disappointing, but it's just, Well, there are tons of ways to read it, but you know, mostly I've always been obsessed with birthmarks. Freckles, birthmarks. I love marks in general, scars also. I've always loved that. It's true. So, and I wanted that for Max because I guess it wasn't only for aesthetic reasons, but it was for an aesthetic reason as well. I just think birthmarks are beautiful. But it was also that what I wanted to show with that is, and you know, I didn't really realize it until one of the characters, I think it was Pierre-Luc Funk's character, who's Rivette in that movie. He's like, he's the thin, very funny guy with the turtlenecks, whose mother is sort of rich, and it's at his place that they watch the movie, the short film. So him, I think it was, and he's my friend. I think it was Pierre-Luc who told me, I think that the birthmark is so huge that the fact that his friends would never mention it, would never look at it, we feel like they don't see it, measures to how great their friendship is and how long it's been lasting for. So there was always that aspect that is something so huge that people don't see anymore because they've known each other forever, and to them it's not a problem, obviously. And then there was something also about, you know, Max is hurting and his life is not so great with his mother and with the problems he faces and the confusion he faces, not the sexual confusion, just the confusion in general in his life. Yeah. And for me, that birthmark seemed painful. It seemed like, you know, it's not a small little stain, you know, port wine stain here. It's big. It's unavoidable. It's inevitable. You see it. You walk down the street, you see it. And it's like when someone with a birthmark so big walks into a room, you can't help but feel for them and realize or think about all the pain they must have gone through in high school when they were mocked by other kids. So yeah, it was an amalgamation of all these reasons that motivated me to just go with the birthmark. I knew very early on that I would birthmark for Max. And I would do it again.
And we have a question from the audience, from the people who are watching us. So Benita is asking, what are the main reasons behind you choosing to write, direct, and act in your own films? And is it challenging to direct yourself?
Okay, well, thank you for your question. So the main reason to begin with is that I've always been an actor. This is how I started out acting when I was 4 years old. So I can't really say that I started out because I was so young then. But growing up, I wanted to act. I wanted to be an actor. And when I saw Titanic at the age of 7 or 8, it was a shock and it was a revelation. I thought, oh, I want to make things that one day. I want to make things big and I want to build sets and I want to design costumes and I want to put these clothes on women and men and I want them to have interaction and I want to write dialogue and I wanted that. So that's what hinted at my desire or my potential career as a director when I was very, very, very young. And from then on, I started writing scripts. And but by the age of 16, no one would employ me as an actor. I was in a sort of ingrate age where I was in between, you know, being young and being an adult. And I don't know, I was just growing into my body in an odd way. I had an ingrate phase, like most of teens growing up. And so the phone wasn't ringing anymore, and I was really aching because I was aching for, you know, acting and just, I missed it very much. And when I dropped out of school when I was 17, when I was 17, I wrote I Killed My Mother overnight and thought, I'm going to direct this film, although I have no experience whatsoever directing, but I'm going to direct this film because I'm going to cast myself as the lead actor, and no one will be above me and tell me that I'm too old, too young, too short, too effeminate, too, you know, no one's going to tell me I can't do this. That was the main reason. And then directing I Killed My Mother, I found, you know, I had a sting for it, and I just realized that it was down my alley, and I didn't know what I was doing, you know, I was just trying, and it was a lot of what's the word? A lot of trial and you know, we say we try and we make mistakes, and anyway, so it was mostly that. And then I over the years I cast myself in my other movies as well, in the second one and in the fourth one, and now in this one. But there was a huge gap between Tom at the Farm and Matt and Max. There were four films. There was Mommy and no, there were 3 films, but there were a lot of years. I guess the reason why I wasn't in those films is that there just wasn't any role for me. It didn't feel right. I don't write movies for myself. I write movies for a reason, and then if there's a part for me in it, like, my brain doesn't work in the way that I'm going to give myself a job. It works in the way that I need to tell a story, and if there's a part for me where it feels natural and not forced upon the film that I'm in it, then I'll just do it. And then to answer the second part of the question, is it challenging? It is challenging. But at the same time, there's some actors are unable to watch themselves. They always hate what they see. I'm not like that. I can love what I do, and I can loathe what I do. I can hate myself, then we do it again. But mostly what helps is I'm surrounded by people whose opinion I value so much, and who are really able of breaking things down to me in a way that's just unflattering and honest and frontal and very honest. And so, you know, I have people around me who will tell me, you weren't good in that. That's too much. That's not good. That's bad. You're not focused. You're not doing this right. Do it again. Let's do it again. Or no, let's not do it again. We have it. We got it. So I feel that I'm not surrounded by people who just want to blow smoke up my ass and compliment me where I could be. I feel protected by them because they protect me in a way that they don't protect me. They tell me everything. And that's the relationship that I look that I look for and that I want to build in my life. People who are just honest and who can criticize you, and even if it's harsh, they don't care about criticizing you and hurting your feelings in the moment. What they care about is making a good film.
It seems like very similar friendship you are showing in Matthias and Maxim, like those guys barking at each other but supporting each other as well and understanding each other. There is a lot of questions from the audience where they asking how did you choose your actors, because they always have a very special energy. So maybe you can say a bit how you cast.
For Matt and Max, or for my movies in general?
For actually, they're asking about Mommy as well and about Matthias and Maxim. So it's up to you. Maybe you want to.
I generally write a part for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Some people write a script and they don't see anyone, but I write for actors. I write for people. I'm generally unable of not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps me write because I write for someone. And when I say for someone, it means that I know that actor's strengths and I know what he's done or what she's done. And what's fun is to write a part that's tailored for them, but also for them to go somewhere else and to try something new that you might not have seen them do, or that's always exciting. Mm-hmm. The feeling that you are writing something different for someone in whom you believe, in whose talent you believe. So I sometimes write for friends, sometimes for complete strangers whom I admire. Mm-hmm. And so it is always a mix of old friends and new friends, because I generally befriend the actors that I work with. I have a hard time. Well, I don't. I can think of a few people I'm not friends with, but generally when I shoot with someone, we keep contact and we keep touch and we keep in touch and we write to each other. And over the years, that's generally always been the case with the actors I work with. In the case of Matthias and Maxim, I guess it was clear to me from the very beginning who these guys would be from the group of friends, because they're my best friends in real life.
Okay.
But they're all actors also. So that wasn't really hard.
And there is a question from Amelia. She asks, which role you've played has been the most challenging so far and why?
Well, I guess that they're always which role in general.
Yes.
You know, I guess it's always it always gets more challenging because you always become more and more demanding with yourself. Mm. I have a lot of expectations for myself, and I always want to take it higher and be better and ameliorate the things that can be ameliorated. And so I guess the latest part is always the one that's been the most challenging. So I would say Matt and Max. I also acted in a film last summer in France. It was a great experience. It was a beautiful period film set in Paris in the 1820s. So it was it's an adaptation from Balzac, the French writer, author of Lost Illusions. It was challenging because you want to be different. It's a period film, and you have to be careful with how you walk and how you laugh and how you do things, because there are notions that weren't clear to these people. And I don't really like when people do period films in an anachronic way, or anachronical. I don't know what the word is. You know, when they try to be very, very modern about how they act. I don't believe in that.
Why?
I don't believe in that because people were not modern then. They were more modern than people before them and their ancestors. But I believe there's a way to. I don't feel like you always have to be that romantic and. But when you play a character from aristocracy in the 1800s, well, I'm not going to do it, as I would do anything else. So that was challenging, but a lot of fun too.
Okay. And Jurgis is writing. He remembered one of your interviews from 2013, where you said that you read basically every review of your films. And he's asking if that changed, and if yes, why?
Yes, it's changed. One of the quotes that I would say my mantra in life is something Georgia O'Keeffe, who's a painter I admire a lot, is something she said that goes like this. She said, "I have long settled it for myself so that flattery and criticism go down the same drain, and I feel quite free." And over the years, you know, when I was younger, I read every review, and they were really about saying what was annoying in those films when there were negative reviews, and they were right. It was always, you know, it was always they were, some of them were very on point, and so I could grow and learn from that. But you know, with time, instead of being reviews about my work, it became a lot reviews about me, and who I am as a person and as an artist. It's not really what's annoying in these films. It's how annoying people think I am through those films. And so those reviews became less constructive and less interesting because there was nothing I could take away from them except that I shouldn't be myself anymore. And all of this body of work, all of these years of work mean that you know more and more every day in every film that you make who you are. And so I just didn't want to waste any more time obsessing about how much that person hated me or disliked my work, and had fun, you know, writing how much they disliked it, because it's fun. You know, remember that line in Ratatouille, the Disney movie Ratatouille, with the rat who's cooking in the chef's hat. The mean critic in the end says, mean or bad criticism, bad reviews are fun to read and write. And it's true. It's fun to read a bad review that's mean. You're like, oof, that's painful, that's funny. And critics really know how to write. Well, not all of them, but you know, they write very well, and the choice of words is always, you know, has an enormous impact on what you think of a film. And the musicality of a hateful review is has a rhythm, and it has sounds that other reviews that are more plain and more neutral don't have. So I understand why it's fun to read negative reviews. It's just not fun to read negative reviews about you. And it's not that, let's be honest, it's not that I don't have time for negative reviews about my work. Is that I don't have time for negative reviews about who people think I am. Yeah. Because I'm not making movies for people to hazard guesses as to who I might be in real life and how insufferable or pretentious or narcissistic I can be. I read reviews to learn about, you know, what's wrong in those movies. And if what's wrong in those movies is me, then it's not worth it. So I read some reviews, but I want to say that mostly now, yeah, I don't. You know, and the thing that's really hard about reviews is they're inconstant. And sometimes someone adores your film and they don't like the next one. And you thought that you had made a friend. You thought that someone understood you. But they don't understand you the next time around, and it doesn't really matter. But what I take away from that, not that inconsistency or the fact that that a critic doesn't always love your work, and that sometimes he's there and sometimes he's not. What I take away from that is that, well, flattery and criticism are in fact the same. And most of the time, they'll either hurt you or make you feel good, but they won't really make you be better. So, you know, you read a review and then you want to change your work and change who you are and try something new in order to confront that review and confront yourself and think, okay, well, then I'll do things differently. And then you make that movie, and then the people who disliked the previous one love this one, But the people who loved the one before all say, why did you change? Why did you make the same film? And then you make another film like that, and then people are like, why did you make the same film? Why didn't you change? It's just hard to please people. And I've decided that instead of trying to please strangers that I had never met, what really mattered in life is that I would try to impress myself and impress the people around me that I really love and whose opinion I really value and worship. There are maybe 10, 12 people that I really want to, you know, impress. And I hope every time I make a film that they'll like it.
Good. And no, but it's nice that you said that at some points there was like really a big value from reading those reviews and that you actually learned. But then when it becomes personal, yeah, it's not a review. It's just sometimes it's just an attack, or I don't know. It should stick with the actually analyzing and understanding the film and not something beyond, maybe.
You know, Agnes Varda said, she said, you know, the greatest compliment that I can ever get is when someone comes to me and, you know, instead of talking about my film in an analytic way or in a intellectual way, when someone tells me your film made me really happy. Mm-hmm. She said, for me, I guess this is just as good as it gets when it's not really that you interested someone, it's not really that you impressed someone, it's that you made someone feel something. And I'm very lucky because I know how people feel about my movies. When they feel good about them, they tell me a lot on my Instagram account, and I am blessed with the fact that people reach out and say, thank you for this, thank you for that, you made me feel this or that, or I know how people feel, and that's basically all that matters to me now.
Mm. And yeah, we have Giedra is asking, which directors or films inspire you the most? If you would like to say a couple of names or titles.
You know, I guess a lot of people influenced me in my work. But, you know, these movies come from so many different places and different horizons. Some of them are really meticulous, artistic, intellectual works, and some other are big entertainments from the 90s I grew up with as a child. The references are so numerous, and I've been talking about these references for 10 years now. In every article I'm asked. So I guess now it's not really about what influenced me, but you know what really influences me is people's art in painters and photographers more than filmmakers now. I have maybe 1,000 books here of painters and photographers that I always look at, and whether it's Andrew Wyeth or Georgia O'Keeffe or Ari Markopoulos or Wolfgang Tillmans or Alistair McClellan or Nan Golden or there are so many artists that have inspired me. But for me, it's easier to be inspired by an image than by a scene. Mm. But I really admire Paul Thomas. To answer the question, I admire Paul Thomas Anderson's work a lot. I find him very impressive. I admire him a lot. Quentin Tarantino's work as well is just, I find it so funny and solid and rich. It's just dense and And this year, Parasite really impressed me. What else? Yeah, I always come back to Paul Thomas Anderson's work somehow. Alfonso Cuarón is perhaps one of my favorite directors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. And
all of his movies, from A Little Princess to Y Tu Mamá También to Gravity to Gravity. Did he? Yeah, he did Gravity. Yeah. To his latest film, to even Prisoner of Azkaban. I love everything he does.
Okay. And Algirdas is asking if you like to travel to the festivals, and if Lithuanian audience can expect to see you in Vilnius someday.
What? I didn't understand the latter part of the question. Sorry.
If Lithuanian audience can expect to see you in Lithuania one day.
Well, I hope so. It's not going to be in the next weeks.
And months, probably.
I love to travel. It's just that certain festivals, certain events, sometimes take place during a period of time where I'm going to be in post-production, or I'm going to be in. So it's always about that. About availability, but it's never about desire. I have the desire to meet as many publics and see as many countries as I can. Once we're all done with this world crisis that we are living through, I will want to see the world again more than ever. But that was the latter part of the question. And the first one was, do I love to go to festivals?
Yeah.
I love to go to festivals. Yeah.
I love. Nice.
Sure, I love it. I love it.
And our time is actually finishing, but I still have one question from Yeva. Can you elaborate on the choice of music for your films, and why so much pop music?
Well, I write movies listening to music, whether it's instrumental music or scores from films or classical music, or I always listen to music when I write movies. There's a lot of pop music in my films because most of the music that I feature in those movies are the songs that characters listen to. It'll be a song that plays on the radio. It'll be a song that plays in a bar, a song that plays in someone's. Obviously, I'm still the one making the decision of what's the song, but it has to be plausible with the life of the character. And so, which is why I don't feature songs like, I love a band like Fever Ray, but I find that their music is incredibly interesting for me to listen to, but not as enthralling and uplifting in a film as hearing Oasis' Wonderwall. I feel that these songs, that pop music, has a relationship to our memory, because we've heard these songs a lot, and we all have a story with these songs. And but there's a proportion of classical music in my movies as well that might not be as memorable as when you hear Wonderwall or when you hear a Celine Dion song but there's classical music. There's Schubert in Mad and Max and Vivaldi, and so it's always a variety of different songs. But in the past years of my life, I want to say in the past 5 films, I've stopped putting music on films and I've started putting music in films. So the use of music has become, for me, it's important that the music is as rarely as possible on the story, forced by me, but that the music is what we call diegetic, that it's part of a scene because it plays on the radio, or it's like in Mommy, all the songs basically are on this CD that the mixtape that the father made for his wife and son before dying. And so that's where it comes from. And so, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And maybe for the end, you would like to say a couple of words for the audience who maybe still haven't seen your film, or just listen for the conversation and gonna watch it later, or I don't know, just if you want to say something to Lithuanian audience.
If you've watched this already, thank you. And if you've watched Matthias and Maxim, well, you know, I'm very proud of that movie. It's a simple film, but it meant a lot to me making it, and I'm really proud of it. It's very, you know, it's a humble movie, but I think that the emotions and the feelings that the characters are feeling are outstanding feelings to have in life, and what I want to say is I would guess that in the moment that at this time in history that we're going through, I feel that we are experiencing a lot of loneliness and a lot of isolation. Well, not I feel, I know. I now know that we are all living that. And Matthias and Maxim is just simply a movie about friendship, too. And it's a movie about friends who have a very vital and expressive and lively friendship where they hug each other and they fight, and the notion of contact, which we are, I feel, sorely missing right now, and in dire need of. I think there's that in the movie. So if you're not with your friends at the moment, you can at least be reminded of them through that film. I'm sure, a little bit. So, and I mean, I hope. So I hope you watch it, and I hope it brings you a little bit of peace and a little bit of joy.
Wonderful, Xavier. Thank you so much, and thank you for the audience who watch us. Thanks a lot.
And thank you for your questions.
Thanks.